The film begins with Eric, who has arrived alone on a deserted island. After a long drive, he stops at a car that turns out to be his friend's. He gets out of the car, takes out a red bag, and changes the number plates of both cars. Afterward, he runs fingerprints through both vehicles and continues on foot. He arrives at a house on the beach. Drawing his gun, he searches the entire house, but finds no one there. He realizes he was looking for a woman named Denise, but there was no one there. Suddenly, he feels as if someone has called him. He goes out of the house to look, but there's no one around. He hears the same sound again, and following the sound, he reaches the beach, where he sees a metal bag and a lot of blood lying nearby. Seeing the blood, Eric panicked for a moment. He also spotted a woman's bracelet nearby. He had a sneaking feeling that it might belong to Denise, but he wasn't sure. So he grabbed the bucket nearby, cleaned everything up, and threw it into the ocean. Just then, he heard someone calling out to him again. It was Matt, Tenny's son and Eric's partner, asking about his mother. Eric told him, "I didn't see her come here." Just then, they arrived at the house and found Paul had also arrived. This was their fourth partner. Let me tell you what was going on. They had stolen a painting worth $0 million. Their plan was to stay in the house and then leave the country. Denise, who owned the painting, was supposed to be the first to arrive, and now she wasn't even there. They believe Eric must have killed Dennis, because Dennis was currently in Eric's possession, and killing Dennis would obviously increase his share. Paul and Matt don't tell Eric about their expense. They tell Eric that they'll wait for Dennis to return one day, and if he doesn't, they'll leave. Meanwhile, Eric takes their phones, puts them in the red bag he was carrying earlier, and drops it into the middle of the ocean. Eric hadn't even returned when a strange sound began to come from the ocean. The sound was so loud that even Matt and Paul could hear it clearly. The strange thing about this sound was that it hypnotized all three of them. All three of them, walking like zombies, walk into the ocean. When they regain consciousness, they don't even know why they came there. Well, they return home and think it must have been due to exhaustion. They decide to sleep, but Matt is still worried about his mother. Paul encourages him, saying, "Let's wait, maybe your mother will come tomorrow." Later that night, Paul comes to Eric and asked him, "Tell me the truth, did you kill Denise to hide your relationship with Eric from Denise?" Eric assures Paul that he didn't do anything like that. Inside, we see Matt, who, after taking a shower, finds the same bucket full of blood that Eric had thrown into the ocean. He becomes distraught at the sight of the bucket, and as he reaches inside, he finds his mother Denise's bracelet. Seeing this bracelet, he becomes furious, and his suspicion turns into certainty that Eric must have killed his mother. Matt starts yelling at Eric, and Paul tries to calm him down. The three are engaged in a heated argument when suddenly, there's a loud knock on their door. They open the door and find a distraught girl, begging for help. Eric and Paul rush to help her. Matt stares at the bucket of blood, wondering who could have put it there. As Eric and Paul arrive at the beach to help the girl, they find one of their friends lying there, almost dying. Eric administers CPR to her and revives her. Eric then picks her up and brings her home. Eric asks the Cantinos, "How are you all here?" The girls explain that their boat had an accident and they swam to their destination. When they ask their names, they all reveal their fairy-like names. Hearing these names, the men start to wonder. He laughs and says, "Wow, you guys have names that sound like characters from stories." When the girls ask them about their whereabouts, they make up false stories to hide their identities. "Why are you here?" Eric says, "We're here for a bachelor party." The girls ask for their phone so they can call for help, but they've already thrown them in the ocean. Eric tells another lie, saying, "We made a rule not to bring phones to this party." The girls find this strange. So Matt tells them, "We'll drop you off in the countryside in the morning, where someone will help you, and you'll get your phones there." One of the girls needs to go to the bathroom. Paul shows the girl the way to the bathroom and also picks up the painting tube they stole and hides it under the bed. Then he notices the red bag that Eric had dropped into the ocean. Strangely, that bag was now inside the house. It was. Paul doesn't think much of it, so he picks it up and hides it under the bed. A worried Matt takes him to the kitchen and tells him, "I think Eric is playing a game with us, because the bag we gave Eric to throw into the ocean is now in the house, and everything inside is intact." Hearing this, Matt becomes furious and is now convinced that Eric is definitely going to betray them and kill Dennis. When Eric sees them in a panic and comes to listen to them, Matt abuses him. Eric calms the situation down by saying, "Control your emotions. We just have to get through this night somehow. As soon as morning comes, we'll give these girls the keys to our car and leave." The three of them now join the other three girls, and they ask them to play a game. The game involves getting to know each other. One girl reveals she's a princess, and all three of them burst out laughing. Another girl reveals she's a kung fu champion, and to prove her worth, she even flips Eric over onto a chair. As they play this game, their friendship grows. Meanwhile, the lights go out. When Eric goes out to fix the lights, a girl follows him. They are beginning to feel attracted to each other, and during this time, they hear a sound from the ocean, similar to the one they heard that afternoon, which was hypnotizing them. The girl becomes worried about Eric's hypnotized state and tries to revive him, but Eric doesn't regain consciousness. He was already heading towards the sea. He was halfway there when he regained consciousness. He saw a large amount of blood and human body parts lying on the beach. The sight terrified all three of them. The girl who was with Eric pulled a gun from his pocket and pointed it at him, asking, "Tell me, what did you do to my friend?" They were also at a loss. Eric tried to explain that he had seen similar marks around the beach earlier that afternoon. Something bad is definitely going on here. Instead of fighting, we should find our friends. In reality, Matt and the girl with him had disappeared. Before they could do anything else, the voice from the sea began to hypnotize them again. They barely managed to keep themselves conscious, and Paul tells Eric that they should go back home and put something inside the vehicle so that the noises don't bother them and they can find their companions. When they arrive home, they find the girl already inside, trying to find the map. Eric begins to suspect she might be the one behind this. He points a gun at her, and then the sounds from the sea start coming again. Eric begins to hypnotize him, and the girl takes advantage of this and stabs a knife into Eric's chest. When Eric regains consciousness, he finds Paul holding him. Paul takes him to the bathroom and puts wet toilet paper in his ears to block out any noise. Eric goes outside to look for Matt, but it's too dark. Eric's foot hits something shiny, causing him to slip. As soon as he slips, an invisible force pulls him into the ocean and drowns him. Paul had witnessed this vision from a distance. To prevent this from happening to him again, he takes his painting and securely ties himself to the pillar of the house with ropes to prevent the sounds from attracting him. There were many sounds, but the ropes did their job. Despite being hypnotized, Paul didn't move toward the ocean. Morning arrives. Paul regains consciousness and frees himself from the ropes. Then, through a flashback in his mind, we learn that Paul had already given the police a photo of Eric and informed them of their arrival because he didn't trust Eric. He believed Eric would surely betray him. He wanted to get Eric arrested, but by coming here, he himself got trapped. A little while later, he saw the three girls standing in the middle of the ocean, singing a song and beckoning him towards them. These were similar sounds to the ones they had heard earlier. Hypnotized, Paul begins moving towards them, and eventually, the girls suddenly pull him underwater. It was revealed that these girls were not ordinary women, they were actually mermaids who used to lure people and drown them. In the next scene, we see Ginny sitting on the same beach. Her leg was badly injured. It looked as if she had been attacked, but she had survived. She tore her own clothes to bandage her wound. When she returned to the house, she saw that no one was inside. She had no companions, and the painting she had so painstakingly stolen was hanging on the wall. Suddenly, an invisible object appeared, pulling Denise into the sea and drowning her. In the final scene of the movie, we are shown the painting, which was actually a painting by the mermaids. This wasn't just a painting, but a whole story embedded within it. All of these people become a part of this story, and the movie ends with this.